welcome back to Urban Cowgirl. Today we're gonna be making my Texas brisket queso. Yes, you heard that right. It is about as amazing as it sounds. I've got this smooth and delicious velvety queso for you. We're gonna top it with barbecue brisket that we have left over from a barbecue we had this weekend, and you are gonna be able to recreate it in your very own home. You're gonna love it. Let's get started right now. To start our brisket queso, we're gonna start by making the queso. Now this just starts with half of a white onion. We're gonna small dice it and reserve that. Next, we'll small dice 2 jalapenos. First, cut off the stem of the jalapeno, and then you'll just wanna split it in half, and from there you can split it in quarters or eighths, however you like it. You'll notice that I'm using the seeds and the ribs of the jalapeno in this recipe. It really doesn't come out spicy. This is the way I've always done it, so don't be afraid that you're gonna get blown away. Just make sure you give your hands a nice wash when you're done cutting the jalapenos. Now we're just gonna press a couple garlic cloves through a garlic press. I love this method because the garlic just melts into the queso. Now we're gonna start the queso. We're gonna start by melting 2 tablespoons of butter in a heavy bottomed saucepan. Go ahead and toss in the onions and jalapenos and give them a stir. We're gonna sweat the vegetables for about 2 minutes. Season with a pinch of kosher salt just to get all those flavors going, and then go ahead and add in your garlic and stir that until it smells fragrant. Now we're gonna add in our half and half. We're gonna kind of let that simmer and begin cutting up the American cheese, which will make the base of our queso. This is Boar's Head white American cheese from the deli. I only use Boar's Head because I had a couple problems with American cheese curdling, and I think that's because different brands add different things to it. Boar's Head is creamy, it's silky, it's wonderful, and it also comes in a yellow color, which gives a little bit more of a Tex-Mex flavor. The white American cheese is more of a mild, buttery flavor. So you should experiment with both and find out which one you like best. What I'm doing here is essentially taking that big block of cheese and turning it into little squares. First, I slice it into just little flat pieces, and then I'm gonna go sideways and slice it into sticks. And then again, I will slice it and you'll see the little squares fall off, and that's gonna make it much more easier to melt into the half and half. Now we're just gonna pick up all those little squares and we're gonna add it to our half and half queso base that we've got started. Of course, this is gonna look like any queso that you make with Velveeta, but I promise you it is gonna be so much better, so much more authentic. You are absolutely gonna love it. You need to use a spoon to keep the cheese moving. You don't want it to burn to the bottom of the pan. It's useful to also turn the heat down a little bit as the cheese melts into the half and half, and eventually you are going to be rewarded with this delicious creamy queso sauce. Now it's time to make a fresh homemade pico de gallo to go on top. I always make my pico de gallo with little cherry tomatoes. You'll find that they have way less juice and way more flavor. You'll see I'm just cutting the little cherry tomatoes down the center and then cutting them into little bite-sized pieces. This is super easy to do with a sharp paring knife. Now just add the cherry tomatoes to your bowl of diced onions and jalapenos and go ahead and clean your cilantro. Cilantro usually has a lot of sand on it, so it needs a good bath, and then I'll just shake it off and start just dicing it up. In the cilantro goes, and now we'll just add a pinch of salt, some fresh lime juice, and I'll stir it all together and let it marinate while we finish off the queso. Because we made our queso with real American cheese, if it sits for very long, it can get thick. So don't be afraid to add a little bit of half and half or water if you need to thin it out. You knew what was coming. Now we have our gorgeous leftover brisket. Let me show you how I'm just gonna use this to dice it up and put it in little bite-sized pieces. All right, now I'm just gonna lay this guy out on my cutting board and I'm gonna start making slices. Now, however much you wanna use is really up to you. And of course, for everyone who doesn't have a barbecue at home, you know it's totally fine to go by the barbecue restaurant, buy some chopped or sliced brisket and crown your queso with that. No shame there. Now that I've cut my slices, I'm just stacking them up and cutting little morsels off. What I'm trying to do is make my own chopped brisket so that every time you get a new bite of queso, you have little morsels of brisket in it. I'm just trying to chop it as small as possible for little morsels of brisket, and then I'm gonna transfer it all to a bowl, and I'm gonna sauce it with my favorite barbecue sauce. This barbecue sauce is our Dr. Pepper barbecue sauce from our food blog at Urban Cowgirl. You're welcome to go grab the recipe, or if you don't have time for any of that, you can just use any bottled barbecue sauce. You can also leave the brisket plain. It's very juicy as it is. We just really dig it like this. I like to pour my queso into a warm cast iron skillet. I feel like we eat on the couch and it keeps the queso warm. It also just looks really beautiful. Now we're gonna put a big old scoop of our barbecue brisket on top of the queso. Then I like to put a layer of that delicious marinated Pico de gallo. It's zesty and limey, totally yum. And then more brisket on top of that. Shabam! Now that is a bowl of queso I am ready to get into. Time for a bite! It's my favorite part. Oh my god, it's my favorite. Hot damn. But it's so good. That is like a restaurant quality brisket queso. Your friends are gonna lose their minds when they try this. Now, we have the recipe right below, if you look right below. And we also have a printable on urbancowgirllife.com. You'll also find the recipe for the Dr. Pepper barbecue sauce there, which is what we sort of bathed our brisket in. If you have any comments, concerns, leave them below. I read all of them. I'd love to help you out. You gotta check out this brisket queso, you guys. You're gonna love it. It's the perfect recipe for your whole summer. We'll see you next time. Bye.